Imagine a carpenter's wife standing beside a wrapped body before sunrise. A reed mat waits on the floor. A small chest holds linen strips, oil, and whatever copper the household has not already spent on food. Outside, a messenger is ready to find the men who handle the dead. The family has one urgent problem: love is not enough. Without refrigeration, hospital records, or a funeral plan, they must turn grief into materials, labor, timing, and payment before decay takes over. So who could afford to become a mummy in ancient Egypt? The useful fragment is this: mummification was not one thing. It was a market of choices, from elite workshop treatment to cheaper drying and wrapping, with many people likely receiving far less. The mystery is not whether Egyptians cared for their dead. It is how a household converted belief into a purchasable chain of services. A modern viewer may picture mummification as a standard national package, almost like a religious entitlement. Remove organs, pack the body in salt, wrap it beautifully, place it in a coffin, and begin eternity. That seems reasonable because museum mummies are often the survivors we see, displayed as if they represent the normal Egyptian dead. But survival is biased toward people whose families bought durable materials, protected tombs, and skilled labor. The assumption cannot explain poor burials, reused coffins, missing cemeteries, or the fact that the visible mummy often preserves purchasing power as much as faith. The clearest ancient description comes from Herodotus, a Greek observer writing about late-period Egypt, who says embalmers showed families model bodies and offered 3 services at different prices. His account directly establishes a funerary marketplace relatives chose, negotiated, and paid. The top version used brain removal, an abdominal cut, organ treatment, natron drying, fine linen, gum, and a wooden human-shaped container. Cheaper versions reduce labor and invasion of the body. But Herodotus gives no prices, and he was an outsider describing one late phase of a much older tradition. The clue changes the question from, was mummification available, to, which parts of the process made it expensive, and which parts could be dropped. The cost began before anyone touched the corpse. An elaborate mummy needed a workshop that could organize specialists, heat and mix substances, assign containers, and apply different compounds to head, skin, organs, and linen. A residue study of labeled jars from a Saqqara embalming workshop found animal fat, oils, beeswax, cedar products, juniper or cypress, pistachio resin, el-Medina, bitumen, and other ingredients. Several came through long-distance trade. That means a good mummy depended on merchants, routes, storage, and administrators, not just sacred knowledge. Then came labor. The body had to be opened or otherwise treated, dried with natron, managed through waiting periods, packed, wrapped, and transferred. Linen alone represented cultivated flax, spinning, weaving, washing, cutting, and distribution. A coffin added another economy. Kathleen Cooney's study of recorded coffin prices from Deir el-Medina found a median wooden anthropoid coffin around 25 copper deben, while 5 divan could buy a goat, sandals, or a linen shirt. That is only the coffin, not the whole funeral, and it comes from a prosperous workman's community, not every village. Across periods, details changed. But the causal chain stays visible. Family wealth opened access to rarer substances, more skilled time, more linen, better containers, and more secure handling. So the people most able to buy the full package were royalty, high officials, temple personnel, wealthy families, and prosperous skilled workers. Others could purchase pieces, drying, wrapping, a simpler container, reused materials, or family-made substitutes. Follow one bolt of linen. First, it is household property, not yet sacred. Cloth that could clothe the living or bind the dead. The family sends it toward the mortuary workers, and its meaning changes because labor is now being scheduled around it. It must be cut into strips, treated with sticky or aromatic substances, if the budget allows, and wrapped in layers that turn a body into a recognizable social object. At each handoff, the system asks for something ordinary people understand: payment, trust, timing, and proof. The mourner does not buy immortality in one transaction. She buys access to people who know how long natron drying should last, which materials can be spared, when the coffin must be ready, and who receives the body afterward. A richer family buys more skill time and rarer compounds. A poorer one buys fewer steps, fewer materials, or only the minimum needed for formal burial. The system becomes visible when it threatens to fail. A Ptolemaic Theban contract studied by Gael Batons records an embalmer's agreement with a dead man's father. The service, materials, and a natron-related tax were settled, and the embalmer had to deliver the treated body in good order to the family's mortuary priest. Failure brought a financial penalty. That document does not give us a clean total price, and it does not prove the same rules operated centuries earlier. But it exposes the vulnerable links. Someone had to secure materials, account for tax, perform the treatment, preserve the body's condition, and hand it to the next religious specialist. If any link broke, the family's ritual plan could fail. Mummification was care, but it was also accountable work. The direct evidence supports tiered embalming choices, specialized materials, organized labor, coffin costs, and contracts with penalties in some periods and places. The strongest inference is that full professional mummification was mainly affordable to royalty, elites, temple circles, and prosperous non-elites, while many Egyptians received simpler treatment or burials that left little trace. John Baines and Peter Lecovar's survey of burial evidence argues that known cemeteries represent only a fraction of the population, so elaborate embalming cannot have been universal. What remains disputed is how technique mapped onto status in every era. What lacks support is the popular idea that all Egyptians could expect the same mummy-making package. Return to the carpenter's wife and the chest of linen. It is no longer just a sad household scene. It is an ancient version of a system we still know: death care built from specialists, supply chains, regulation, family money, and choices made under pressure. Alright, and that was today's curiosity from Hidden Axiom. We hope you enjoyed it, and if this video answered your question, leave a like, share your next question in the comments, and subscribe to keep discovering. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious.